Welcome to the Let's Get Weird podcast. I'm Charles Goolsby, and I'm here with my buddy, my brother, my friend, Aaron Guerrero. Aaron, why don't you introduce yourself, bud?
All right, Charles, thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited to be here. Like you said, my name's Aaron Guerrero. Met Charles a couple years ago, and honestly, just very grateful to be here in my first podcast, and just ready to get into it. Let's get weird.
Let's get weird. I love it. See, he used it before I did. So let's just start, man. Former fat boy, right? I was 350 pounds. When my come to myself was 347 pounds. Joined a men's group, right? Did some hard things. Learned that what I needed to do. I needed to find out who I was as a man, where I was at in life. I raised my daughter by myself, and that's a small feat for some, right? But it's hard. A little bit of the backstory. It's hard to be able to put that in perspective. But let's do with mindsets, right? I always told myself that I was a nobody. That's how I looked at myself for a long time, as a nobody, because that's what I believed. I just kept losing every day. I tried to start the gym. I'd go for about 2 weeks. I was that guy who quit on National Quitter's Day. I'd quit every time before. New year, new me type deal. Mm-hmm. And fast forward, right? Did some hard things. Joined a men's group. Had some great coaches. Had some great counseling out of that. And then it was time to move on from there, right, to test what I had learned. Some hard things happened back in July. I blew my knee out. I went to another gym. And they just kind of sent the rain, if you will, right? And I blew my knee out. I could have quit, but I didn't. I kept going because I have my 9-year-old baby that's looking at me every day. That was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life because some things happened at the last event that really broke my heart, broke me down. So I did some hard things to get out of that, and I did. About 3:30 in the morning, it's probably the end of July. Woke up, cold sweat, crying in the middle of the night. This pain on my heart. And it was God. It was the Lord talking to me, Holy Spirit, saying, get back to Lake Dallas. Get back to Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu, Double 5. That's where you're going to find your home. That's where I want you. I didn't understand it. I said, okay. I'll listen to you. I don't know how to listen to you, but I'll listen. So I came back, got back involved. Things were still going a little slow. I was like, Lord, I sure do wish you would show me a path or give me a sign of what I need to do. And Dave and Robin, we were at a Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu event, and Dave and her started talking to me about Walking in Truth Ministries. And it's the pursuit for truth, right? It's your pursuit. And it's a pursuit to find God, who you are, what the plan is. I had no idea what that was about. But I was like, you know what? I'm all in with that because I need this. I think this is where the Lord is pointing me. So I signed up for it and I went. It was a great experience. I'm not going to go into details, but it saved my life. And I recommend that for anybody to look into it. Came back. Still fighting with the devil, right?
Every day.
Every day. And some say it gets worse before it gets better, but I've been fighting with the devil my whole life, right? The alone demon, right? Being lonely, praying to the devil, things like that. And I had no direction, no male influence, no male role models. And it's hard trying to find that by yourself. I always say the Lord has called me and kept calling me long distance. I just kept hitting the ignore button. And that is something that's on me, right? I've always felt that I was a good writer. I needed use my voice to save others, my experience in working out. Never in a million years did I know how to count calories, and I didn't even know what nutrition was, and I didn't even know how to do right push-ups and things like that. When I started the journey, this is what brought me to it. I was 350 pounds. We were at the trampoline park with my daughter, and she was jumping in the foam pit. I was like, ooh, airborne, I can do this. Still thinking I'm in my 20s, right? And I did it. I just couldn't get out.
I remember you told me that story.
Yeah. And everybody was video recording, laughing, and not one person asked for help.
Nope.
Like, said, hey, can you help me? Not, can I help you? No. I said, okay. So then I realized in that moment that nobody's coming to save me. I had to do it myself. So I got out. It was funny to watch, right? And that just lets me know people in today's world, they want to point and click and shoot.
I've seen it a lot.
Every day, right? Or you're driving down the road and people are doing this, trying to drive.
Oh, yeah. I saw them way up here on 35.
Yeah, every day. So, that's where it started. And I was like, you know what, I'm done. So that's when I joined the men's group and learned how to do some things. Great guys. There's some guys in there that are absolutely amazing, and I'll never forget them for what they're doing, what they're still continuing to do, because those guys do save lives.
I agree.
And they're just mountain of men. I love their stories. Jerry's a great guy, Josh, great guy, Nate's a great guy. All of them are great. And moving forward to that, I got tired of spending money. Right? And when you are disrespected or you feel that you have to pay someone to be your friend, that's what I felt at that moment towards the end. Like I was there for me, but nobody else was there for me. Right? I thought that was my tribe. Turns out I had to get my own tribe. Right? Mm-hmm. So we'll get into that a little later. But for you, I want to hear your story. Tell me a little bit.
Well, I guess just based on, I love how, Jocko does it. He says, let's start from the beginning,
Yeah.
I born and raised here in Texas my whole life. My parents, they're still together in the same house I grew up in. I'm very blessed to have both my parents together and to have raised me, I think, in a right way. I was, I look back on that now, being a husband and a father, that I was very blessed to have the raising and the upbringing that I had, I grew up playing sports. I was always a big kid. When I was younger, there was, I guess, some bullying and stuff. I guess I was always, when I was younger, I was definitely softer and fatter, and I took those words and, those bullying, it did hurt me, and then I realized, what, I'm stronger than these kids, and I showed it. So whenever that stuff happened, I shut it down real quick.
Let's go, yes.
Yeah, so, that was, I think, innate in me, and then also the guidance from my father. He's a tough guy. He's a former Marine. He volunteered, went to Vietnam. And he may tell you that he didn't raise me that way, but I promise you he did.
I met your dad. It was a pleasure meeting your dad.
Yeah,
He's a good dude.
He's a great guy, man. I love my dad. He's my best friend. We text every day. We don't always see eye to eye. We don't always get along, but we still text each other every day, and we're there for each other. I wouldn't be sitting here next to you if it weren't for my dad.
Wow.
And I had an epiphany. I won't go too far off track, but I had an epiphany that I had to text my dad at 2100 at night, and I said, he's always been a faithful man, even when I know I wasn't walking in the faith. But I had that epiphany, and I texted him late at night, and I said, Dad, I just want to tell you thank you, and I love you, because I know all this stuff I put you and Mom through, and even the things on the job. I've been a paramedic for 15 years now.
Nice.
I wouldn't have made it home alive if it weren't for you praying for me. I had that epiphany when I was doing my nightly prayer, and it just kind of, blew my mind.
I'm curious on what his response was.
He said those were tough and heavy words, and I love you and thank you, son.
What a great dad.
Yeah, I'm very blessed to have my father.
Yeah.
And I'm to my mother too, but me and my dad are a lot closer. I love my mother, but me and my dad are a lot closer.
Well, I think there's that saying too that it's a mom's job to take babies and raise them to boys, and it's a man's job to take them from boys to raise them to men.
Absolutely.
And your dad did a great job.
And I think there was, I remember an event in my young childhood where that did happen, where he said, it's time to put the childish things away. And
wow.
that was eye-opening too as a child, that was... Yeah. It's and I saw this yesterday on Bedros' Instagram. He said, for the man to rise, the child has to die.
But it's true.
It is. And you have to, especially as a man, and especially in this world, and this is my belief, and I think it's yours too, we have a duty, and, we have to live up to that no matter what. We don't get the comforts that not even our dogs get, and that's okay. That's our job, and I love it. I thrive on that. But, my upbringing, I wouldn't be the man I am today if it weren't for my parents. And even my little brother, I have a younger brother who's 2 years younger than me, and he's taught me a lot. And he's taught me a lot more in my older age now that I'm open and receptive to him. Because I'll admit, I was a terrible older brother.
Yeah.
I know I was a terrible older brother. I picked on him. I never wanted him around. All that,
2-year difference, you said?
2-year difference,
wow.
yeah. So that upbringing, I wish, that's the biggest regret of my childhood is I wish I could go back and slap myself and say, you need to take care of your younger brother better.
But how's y'all's relationship now?
Text every day, talk every day, hang out every day. I think some of that is being brothers,
Yeah.
We got to rough and tumble, And there'd be a point when we were kids, my mom would yell for my dad because we're going at it, and he would be like, hey, take that outside.
Well, that's what boys are supposed to do.
And
right?
you know what? One of my best friends, I'm going to be 37. We met in kindergarten, so what is that? I was 6 years old, so 31 years.
Wow.
And we met because we got in a fight. And then our moms had to talk. And ever since then, we've been best friends to this day. I text him every day, too. He's in a group chat with another one of my best friends that I met in 4th grade and my brother. Because, as much as I didn't want to, but now I love it, my brother was with me everywhere, and he's in my core group of friends, with all my core group of friends.
Wow. That's a great story because you have a strong circle. The tribe, if you will.
Yes.
And that's what we need as men. I was going to ask you a question. You have 4 ladies in your life.
I do.
Okay. So let me ask you the masculine part. Do you feel you're number 1 or do you feel you're number 5?
I'm number 5. I know I'm number 5. And I should be number 5.
Yeah?
But what I told my wife before we got married, I said, we will, she's a very strong and independent woman. And she's a tough woman. She's a trauma ICU nurse. She's a baddie.
Yeah.
So what I did tell her when we first got married, I said, we will always walk side by side, but I have to stand in front. I'm going to take everything, and I'll turn around and give you everything. But I got to stand in front.
My man, I love how you said that because it goes into what you said just before, that women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally, and only men are loved under the condition that we provide.
You heard that song?
Yeah,
I love that
right?
song. I love that song.
So good songs like that and good music, you remember those things.
For sure.
And
we can go into that later, how music it can poison you or it can raise you up.
It can, and I see that as well. We'll get back to that. Yeah, music, it saves the soul. It does.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to you through that. It's just amazing how that works. Well, we were just talking about how you number 5. Does that make you feel less than?
No.
No?
No. Because
Okay.
I know my wife makes me number 1, and my kids make me number 1.
Yes.
And when I get Christmas gifts, like my middle daughter, she got me a Christmas tree ornament. That's not up all the time, but it said "World's Greatest Dad."
Yeah.
And I just lost it, started crying.
But you'll keep it forever.
Oh yeah, yeah. I keep it right there. It's in my garage gym where I can see it when I'm working out.
Yeah.
And then my 9-year-old, my baby, I know she's my baby. She's always on me. We're 2 peas, And my 14-year-old, I love her. She gives me the most challenges, but I think her and we are meant to be in each other's lives because I know she needs me in that way, and she teaches me, and I know we need each other.
You said she's a trauma nurse.
My wife, yeah.
See, I love nurses too.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. So my wife went from med-surg nursing to ER nursing to trauma ICU nursing. So she's done it all, seen it all, and we met working in the ER together.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's good, man.
Getting to see her work like that. And she was still a newer nurse, and back then I was a real kind of a cocky jerk. She would call me that arrogant medic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That she fell in love with. She's like, oh, he's kind of cute. He's kind of...
It took me a year. So what's funny,
Wow.
yeah. So she has to, when all the new nurses come work in the ER, they have to do a round with the medic in the critical area so they can know kind of what we do, right?
Yeah.
And she got assigned to me. And so, I thought she was gorgeous. So, when I guess like boys do, we're flirting and being kind of mean, right? Kind of picking on each other or picking on her. And I was popping jokes, and she was not having it. She just stayed stoic and quiet, and I was like, I'm not getting a rise out of her. And so after that shift, I think it was like just 4 hours out of the 12, I was known to her by that arrogant medic, and then I had a reputation that was not the best. It preceded me, and it was not the best.
Yeah.
But we can go into that later too. But I loved that job because I got to do some cool stuff, got to help people, got to meet great people, and I loved my team, man. I loved my team.
Yeah. Made you feel good.
Oh, yeah. Worthwhile.
So how long, so in the men's group that we were in together, how long did you do that for?
I think around the same time as you.
Yeah,
You know,
right at a year.
Yeah. No, maybe a little longer.
A little longer
Maybe
than
a
that?
year and a half.
So
Yeah.
explain to me what you've been doing since then, because I know you are on a path that is amazing, and I bring you on here because we're the same, right? And I feel that we don't have to pay each other a lot of money at all to be able to
love and to support each other.
love and support each other, and that's what men are supposed to do. Not give me X amount of dollars and I'll save your life. You know, that's not, when you put money on that, it becomes like a value. What is it that was said? External value versus internal value, right? So if your internal value is $1 million, but somebody looks at you externally and says you're nothing or you're nobody because you said it, that hurts.
Yeah, it hits you.
So you know. So tell me where you have been going. Everything that you learned and all the tools in your tool belt. How have you progressed?
The biggest thing, you know, I think that I learned is definitely my whole life. It was never quit. You're not going to quit. Just don't quit. And I would, throughout my life before that group, I would quit because things would get hard and I wanted to be comfortable. And it was easy. I could go to work. I could clock out and take it easy. I would work all these hours and then I would have close to a month off that I built up that PTO and just, you know, wouldn't work out, drink, eat. It was just easy. So what I took from there is you have to embrace that pain. You know, you have to, especially as a man, you have to embrace those discomforts. And if you knock it out first thing in the morning, the rest of the day is smooth sailing, man. Smooth sailing. And now, and I think just like you and a lot of other men, I love it. My workout this morning was terrible. And I hate using the word workout because I like to use it as training.
Yeah, training.
You know, it is training. And that was the word my father used. He's like, I wasn't raising boys. I was training men. You know, and I think that's a big deal. And I think a lot of people look at that negatively because, like, what are you, a dog? I'm like, no, but I need training. We all need training. I need to be, my dad would always say, keep your head on a swivel, you know.
Always.
So, always. So that's training. That's training. And training comes in different forms, from physical to spiritual. So that helped me, too, you know, getting back into my faith. I was baptized Catholic, grew up Catholic. I went to 12 years of Catholic school. Yeah. My parents thought that was the best choice for me, and I wish I would have took more advantage of it.
Yeah.
The best thing from that, though, was getting educated, getting to study theology and philosophy, and then my core group of friends, that at least a couple that I've met that have stayed with me all these years.
Yeah. So let me ask you a hard question. Have you brought anybody to the Lord?
I talk about it all the time. I post about it all the time on my socials now. I'm trying to be more vocal with it. Right now, I'm working on my kids and my wife, you know.
That's good. What's one of your favorite Bible verses, if you know any?
Ooh, yeah. Here am I, send me. That's Isaiah. I can't remember the chapters and verse, but that one always sticks in my head because I feel like this is why I was born. This is why I was built. You know, I didn't know this till after I became a paramedic, that St. Michael the Archangel is the patron saint of first responders, and it just, warriors in general, you know, and that hit me. And ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a Marine like my dad. It didn't work out for me that way. In fact, he even told my recruiter, you know, he volunteered for Vietnam. He knows what that means, right? What it means to be a good Marine. Yeah. And he said, you're not taking my son. And so that was my plan. I was going to I didn't try for college. I didn't study for anything. I was, you know, C for college. D's get degrees. I'm getting out of here. You know, I was ready to get out of high school.
C's for college, D's get degrees.
Right?
I like that.
That's what they say. So that didn't work out, and I wasted a lot of time. But when I turned 21 or 22, I graduated medical school, and it changed my life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They for paratroopers, St. Michael is the guardian as well.
I love it.
And it's that's something. Thanks for sharing that. When we feel lost because we're doing easy things, right? So let's loop the tape back around when I didn't know how to work out, right? I still didn't want it. One thing that was motivating me, and I've said this before, and I will not post pictures, right? At my biggest, at 350, I took naked pictures, front, side, and back. Then I look at those pictures, I put them on my wall. So it's the last thing I see before I go to bed, and it's the first thing I wake up, still to this day, and that drives me, right? It's just I'm angry at that person.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted people to hurt as much as I did. That person was nasty and angry and had a demon spirit inside of me.
That's exactly how I felt, man.
And it was horrible. And I treated people like crap. I never understood where it came from. And then I always said, I didn't have the right direction, no male role model. Yeah, my father's alive, but he's not in my life, right? And that hurts. And so I always reached out to men who I thought had value and wanted to I'm not going to say be envious or be like them, but I always ask myself, people say, why you start a podcast? Well, I look at these guys, Jocko, the JP Donnells, the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu guys, everything. And I say, this is what I used to say, this is how my mindset was. What is it that those guys have that I don't have? Then I changed my mindset. And I said, what is it that I have that those guys don't have?
I like that.
And ever since then, I started writing things down. I created this logo, and I wanted to move forward with that, because I felt my heartstrings, the Lord tugging on my heartstrings. Do this, use your voice, be powerful in what you say, learn how to say it, right? Because you can't just be magic at these things.
There is definitely a etiquette to speaking. There is, because even though you may be right in what you're saying, doesn't mean it's going to be absorbed.
Yeah, exactly. And when you come with people with raw, real emotions and you're genuine and people know your story, they tend to support you. And after I came back from the pursuit, I still felt alone, And it's hard for me to say things like that because I do have my daughter, but I raise her alone. And I wish and I pray every single day that her mom steps into the situation and helps our daughter. And, she called me last night crying, upset, and she wanted to come back home. And she was saying some really evil things to her mother. And I was like, where's this coming from? And she's like, Dad, it's just not okay over here. You're not listening to me. And I was like, oh.
You just gave me chills. When my kids tell me I'm not listening, it hurts me.
It does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, tell me more. Like that song from Grease, right? Tell me more.
Yeah.
And I said, tell me more. How does that make you feel, right? And she's like, well, okay, Dad. And then she just 3 extra minutes, attention her, she went into depth of what was wrong. And then I had to say, listen, I can't come and save you. Every time you get mad, I said, you're going to have to work it out, right? And she did. And I'm
awesome.
Super proud of her for doing that. And
your daughter is one of the most polite young ladies I have ever met when she came into my house. And after that first time you guys came over, that's why I just knew y'all are always welcome in our home.
Oh, thank you, man. She has her own reactions towards things too, and she doesn't know how to handle things, and that was on me. And with this pursuit, I mean, man, I just want to talk about it so much. I learned about myself. Everything was pushed down in my subconscious mind. I completely forgot about it. I just missed it. Even if it did show its ugly little face, I would just be like, nope, or I'll smoke a joint, or I'd drink.
Yep.
So I quit drinking October 3rd, 2022.
Awesome.
So that's a little over 3 years with no alcohol. And I don't feel anything. It's amazing. I can be around it. I get other people that can do it. I just don't want to be around that kind of behavior because I know where it can go.
Brings out.
Yeah, and it brings out the demons inside of people, whether it be angry, whether it be...
There's a reason it's called spirits.
Yeah, what is it? Alcohol?
Alcohol, yeah.
Yeah, that's
a real thing.
Well, tell me about that.
So for me, quitting drinking was the easiest thing, I think, because, in high school, I thought, I was the loudmouth jock, and I thought to be the coolest guy was to walk up in the house party with 2 cases of beer under my arm, right? I never got carded because I was always bigger, was tall, and I had older cousins that helped me. So, I wouldn't call that help, but I love my cousins. It's not y'all's fault. It's my fault. But,
Shout out to the cousins.
But no, man, I would, when everyone was out partying and doing that stuff, even now, I'm like, I've already done that, and I did it exponentially more. So I was like being a big guy, I could hold my stuff. I could drink more than anyone else. And then, thinking being a man, like, yeah, I can pound that whiskey. I don't need a chaser. I don't need this. I don't need that. But I realized every time I got hurt someone, or did something negative came from drinking. It always started with drinking. Yeah. And then when I finally decided to shape up and to lose weight and to clear my mind and quit drinking, first the weight dropped like super fast because your body's not full of inflammation. You're not poisoning yourself. Yes. Which it is a poison. Everyone may not agree with that, but I think it is a poison. But I know I also, when Christy and I got married, I had some Dom Perignon, and it was great, tasted great. But you know what? I had 1 glass. Yeah. I could put it down. I had no inkling to go get more. We did have an open bar for people who still like to drink, and I think that's fine. I think everything in moderation, and I'm not going to change anyone's mind, but I'm going to tell people what I think and what I feel. And
it's your personal experience.
Yeah.
And those same people who come at you hard will be the same ones that say, well, Jesus turned water into wine.
Sure.
They'll
Sure,
use it to their advantage.
Yeah, and they will. But you know what? He was serving his mother.
Exactly.
He was serving his mother. People don't look into that whole story.
And then when you say that, they're like, oh.
Mm-hmm. He was serving his mother. And that was the tradition of the time.
Yeah.
And even now still, when you host somebody, what do? You offer them something to drink.
That's it.
You know, it doesn't have to be wine, but you offer them something to drink. You come into my home, I'm going to offer you something to drink. These guys that come over and help on my house, whether it's the Christmas lights or the lawn, I offer them something to drink. I think it's the right thing to do. But alcohol, I know for me, was just, I drank to escape. I drank to not feel. I thought I was feeling good because I was the life of the party. You know, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I was the life of the party. And I didn't realize this until later, until I met my wife, that I was the fun guy. You know, I don't know, and I don't hate to admit it because this is the truth. I would be with the girl, we would do our thing, and a couple weeks, maybe a month, and then she'd find someone else, and they would end up getting married. Right? Remember that movie, Good Luck Chuck? You know, and even then, though, I wasn't in pursuit of getting married.
Yeah.
I was just having fun.
Yeah.
And these women, or young women, wanted to have fun because everyone else was either uptight or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I didn't care.
You know, there's this song, and I don't know who sings it. It said, "Good time Charlie, he likes to party, and he rides a Harley." That was me.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, they made a song about me. This is awesome.
It sounds cool, right? Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I started being at these bars and paying attention. It's so easy to get on the motorcycle and go and pull out a girl from the bar because they have low ambitions, right? And that's I use that to my advantage.
I did the same thing.
Straight dog.
The biggest, you know, everyone's question when you meet someone new is like, what do you do? You know, it's always, what do you do for a living? So I grew out of that. I hated that question. But when I was younger, when someone would ask that question or a lady would ask that question, I was like, I got you. I'm a 911 medic. I'm a flight medic, you know.
And see me in my uniform?
Yeah, right. So, yeah, that was always something. And so I used it to my advantage. I did.
And that's good. I'm glad we can hold each other accountable for that and tell the truth in that. Mm-hmm. And my big thing, you have given me some motivation to talk about this. You know, I'm a huge advocate for cannabis, especially over VA medications. You know, because they just take these and shut up. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And most of
it with my father.
Yeah, and it's you know, they call it the Variety VA Starter Pack, right? And we had some friends who took those when coming back from Afghanistan, and they died.
Yeah.
You know, so whether alcohol was influencing that or not, I mean, it's still, you don't just give somebody Seroquel, lithium, Valium, and then just say, hey, you're going to be okay. And that's what happened to me. I was on liquid lithium, Seroquel, and Valium. And I had to raise a daughter, and I was drooling on myself. So I was like, no more. So back to the cannabis thing. I absolutely love what it represents, and I was the type of guy that says, "Oh, it's in the Bible. God put herb here for you and me on everybody."
Oh, yeah.
And I used that, but I didn't know what it meant. Mm-hmm. So I've been sober from that for a little over 6 months, and that's something that was the common denominator in my life. I could not expose myself to the Lord and still be able to be obedient to Him, right? And I kept hanging on to that and hanging on to it, and once I was baptized, it all just went away.
That's so awesome.
The urges went away, the passion, you know, I could say the passion.
Yeah, there's a passion behind it.
Because I know what it does from behind the scenes, but it also it delays my response. It you know, you can get addicted to it. People's like, you can get addicted. You can. And it's something, and they're saying, oh,
I'm living proof that you can.
Yeah, it's a gateway drug to the next one. Like, I don't have any ambition to go do cocaine or crystal meth. I don't want to do those things. But I want to be able to relax because I'm such a high-strung guy.
That was my excuse, too.
300 miles to an hour, boom, we hit the wall.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I told my wife when we met, too. You know, everyone I met who would ask me, like, you smoke weed? How do you do that? You know, being a medic, like, easy. Yeah, I just don't get in trouble at work. You know, then you don't have to go pop for a piss test.
Yep.
But I did the same thing because I would say it would quiet the voices. But the voices that they were quieting was God.
God's voice.
Now
yes,
I realized
sir.
the older
Amen.
I've gotten, it cut off my spiritual connection, my spiritual communication. And people think, yeah, you can have these spiritual experiences with marijuana. And hey, maybe you can. And I know I'll say this. When I dabbled in some psychedelics and those mushrooms and I had some serious awakenings, you know, having a little joint with it helps. You know, it does.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, helps with that nausea and helps kind of open up that gateway or that pathway to you can kind of see what you're seeing. Does that make sense?
It's a connection, yeah.
Yeah, that connection. But doing it, even the excuse of I'll just do it to sleep, or I'm going to do it to quiet the voices and lower the blood pressure. Why do I need that to do that? You know, I should be able to control myself to be able to, you know, what we were talking about before we logged on here. You know, when I get stressed or get real anxious, I say, Lord, strengthen my spirit 3 times, and I drop down and hammer out 50 push-ups.
Yes.
And I don't have to light up anything because I do that. That takes not even 5 minutes, and I'm better.
Boom.
And I can hear God even more clearer.
Yes.
I'm getting chills just talking about it because I was such an advocate of smoking weed. Because, you know, I would say, so my brother was my roommate for the longest time. After he came back from college, you know, he was way smarter than me, went to 4-year college. So I went to medical school and was just, you know, working 80-hour weeks. So I had come back from a hard shift. There was probably 60-hour work week, and I still had another couple shifts. And I didn't realize that this was, you know, I don't know what to say, how else to call it, but I didn't realize it was my PTS because I was angry. He was trying to just talk to me, and I was shutting him out. We got in a little rough and tumble in the apartment. You know, I would come home from a shift just so angry and tired that, and it's 7 a.m., I'm trying to go to bed. I would pour some Jack Daniels, and I would smoke a bowl, and then I go to bed. Yeah. And I didn't realize, like, oh, this is just, I thought I was a hardcore, you know, I thought I was being cool, or I was dealing with it so I could go back the next day and do what I had to do. But I was just poisoning myself and hurting that relationship with my brother.
So if you could loop the tape back around and you would have chose the gym over the alcohol, how do you think that would have impacted that situation?
I would have been a better brother and a better medic.
Nice that you know that awareness.
And I hate to, you know, I was a fat medic. And unfortunately, there's a lot of us out there, or a lot of them out there.
I noticed that.
Yeah, if you notice when you see those ambulances rolling by, they're pretty big people.
Same with some of the cops out here too.
Oh,
man.
yeah,
They got the belly done lopped over their belly, their belt kind of thing.
Yeah. But I use the excuse of I'm strong and I'm stronger than all y'all, so you can say whatever you want. I'm stronger than you.
Yeah.
So I've always been blessed to be strong. I grew up knowing how to work out, playing sports.
Yeah.
My dad trained me. He's the one who taught me how to lift. And then I got into football and baseball, and there was nothing but running and lifting.
Yeah.
I was still big, but I was in shape. You know, I didn't know anything about eating. You know, back then, you know, what my dad knew, he's like, as long as you're working out, you can eat whatever you want.
Yeah.
Which, not really, but so.
Well, if you're like the Joe Luplos, right? That dude eats gas station hot dogs.
Yeah, I mean, he's lean and full of muscle, though.
Bro, he
can burn through that.
He did something the other day, and he posted something from a gas station hot dog, and I was like, you made me want a hot dog real bad.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, man. Those spicy hot dogs from QT, they hit the spot. Especially when you're on the road as much as I am these days.
Oh yeah,
it is nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know we're both working real hard to lose that weight, but I still like to eat.
Bro, I'm like
hard.
I'm probably a year away from getting that 6-pack, man, and I didn't realize. I thought it was 3 months I could look like Byron Ovenstone. 3 months is all you're saying? I didn't realize.
7-minute abs.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a whole process.
Yeah, guys like Joe and Byron have been training. You know, they eat like horses and they've been training forever.
Their whole life.
Lives. Yeah, that's why they're like that. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
And how do you stay so big looking? Because I eat and I work out every day.
Oh, and they're great at what they do. I have much
sure.
respect for both of them guys, man.
For sure. I love talking with Joe and Byron. He'll text me and say, hey, man, I don't need anything from you. I just wanted to see how you and your family are doing. I hope you're doing well.
He does the same thing. I love that. I'm like, wow, you don't even have to do that, and you reach out. That's amazing, man.
Know. It's awesome. And that makes me want to be better in my communication. I would agree that my biggest character flaw is communication.
Byron, if you're out there, man, kudos to you, brother. It's just an amazing world we live in. The cannabis part, people say, that are close to me, will you do that again? No, probably not. Because in jiu-jitsu, you can't do that and then expect to have a good gas tank. Mm-hmm. And one thing from the second Crucible, I realized that my gas tank was a little better, but it was not where it needed to be at. Even when we did a beach workout, I was like, I don't really feel like my cardio needs to be where it's at. Then Joe jumped in as the man he is and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And he broke it down, and I make it through all the rules in the sessions, do 2-hour cardio workouts. I started doing cycling, bro.
Yeah, you're cycling and swimming, man. That's awesome.
Bro.
It's awesome.
And then I did a Pilates class, and I'm the only dude in there, and I'm like, what is going on here?
I heard those classes are real humbling.
They very are. Yeah. Very much are. But it's good to be able to experience that. I heard something that says you are your circumstances, right? And if you have the negative mindset that you're not going to be anything and you're nobody, guilty as charged, then you're going to be a nobody.
We believe the words we tell ourselves.
And people will treat you as you treat yourself.
It's true.
And then you worry about the disrespect and the things like that. But then you shift. And now I surround myself with lions. And these guys are amazing men of God. They're mighty men of God. All of us are. And I'm learning what comes next. And not from them. I'm learning for myself from the plan that God has had for me my entire life. And I've ignored it. Like, I never realized that the Bible is a great instruction manual for life.
It is. I ignored it too.
You know, somebody gave me this Every Man's Bible a year ago, and I never even touched it. Like, I kind of just flipped through the pages, but never got into it. And now that Bible is getting wore out, you know.
It looks like it.
And it's something, I mean, that'll last the rest of my life. And it breaks it down. I have the Every Man's Bible, and the depiction of what's in there and how it breaks it down. It has anger, control, whatever I feel for the day or the morning. And it's absolutely amazing. They have one for women, too, called Every Woman's Bible. And I can tap into that like I do with my daughter every morning. We have little 10-minute sessions, and then she's trying to get, she thinks she's fat. She's 9. She's not fat. And I'm like, you're just going through an awkward stage? I was like, but you want to set up challenges? Let's do 20 push-ups.
It's awesome.
And she'll get through it. We'll do air squats. And she's like, Dad, I'm a girl. You don't make me feel like a girl. I'm like, well, you're being raised by your dad. I'm sorry.
That's hard, too.
I get it.
I think it was my dad who called me out and said, hey, you're raising them girls like boys.
Yeah.
And so that's something I struggle with because I want them to be tough because I know because there's going to be some jerk like me.
Because we're men. Yep, we know.
Some little jerk like me that's going to walk around and say, hey, I'm a medic. Wink, wink.
And I feel sad for that person who does that to you.
Oh, man. No. I don't sugarcoat a lot with the kids, especially when it's something serious, whether it's life or their souls. Yeah. I don't play around with that. I don't. Some people want to shelter their children a little too much, I think.
Well, that's America in general.
I think so. But I think my experience, from my upbringing and then being a paramedic and the things that I've seen on the street and in the ER, you can't. I got to tell them the truth. I have to tell them the truth.
Even at an early age. That's same way with my daughter. She's 9, and I expose her to some hard truths. And then when she goes back and repeats those things to her mom, she's like, why would you say that? That's inappropriate. No, it's not.
It's the truth.
You're trying to shield her from life. So when the statistic that I had read is a couple years back, 1 in every 3 females by the time they're age of 17 are sexually or physically assaulted.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Me too.
And you know what? That's being done by men.
Man. And it's, I would say the majority of the time it's someone they know.
Or family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart. And I look at that when my daughter's around 3 girls, I say, damn, one of these girls is going to be hurt. I hope it's not mine. Mm-hmm. And that's why we work so hard in jiu-jitsu. And I even asked the coach, I was like, look, stress her out. Send the rain, if you will. Put people on her because she's been doing this for a year.
It's awesome.
I said she needs to be able to know what she can do. And she's having the transition from baby, little girl, to becoming pre-teenage,
Yeah.
And she's having a hard time adjusting, and I'm not a woman, so I don't know.
My 9-year-old went through the same thing.
Yeah?
Yeah, she went through the same thing, and now she went through that same kind of awkward transition that you're describing, and she went kind of tomboyish on me, and she's always was the girly girl. She was in the pink, but now that she's starting to live in the feminine, she's back into wearing pink. She's starting to be more girly again, so she'll come back. She'll come back around.
I hope so, man, because when we're in the gym and she's choking out these little boys.
It's awesome.
Man,
so cool.
She looks over at me like I swear she scans the room to find me, and then she'll start smiling. And I'm like, this is my little psychopath right there. I'm proud and I'm scared at the same time.
See, that's how people describe my 9-year-old, too, because I don't, when we talk about firearms and stuff in the house, I let them, obviously everything's clear and safe.
Yeah.
I let them touch them, let them pick up the bullets, let them hold the guns.
Yep.
And she took to it the most. And when you look at her from these, I'll find a picture, I'll show you when we get off. she's holding a K-bar. But
you need to get her a Red Ryder BB gun.
I want to. Because she's the one who has the most interest in doing things like that. Like she'll come out and work out with me, like a good workout. The other two will work out a little bit, but they want to do their own workout. They don't want to do Dad's workout.
Yeah, because it's too hard.
But my younger one, she wants to do that stuff. She wants to go shooting. She likes playing with knives, but she also still very much in the feminine.
Yeah, mine recently likes to do bow hunting because we watched,
cool,
what was that movie with Katniss Everdeen? Oh, The Hunger Games.
Oh, Hunger Games, yeah.
So she thinks she's Katniss Everdeen, and she's pretty good. She's pretty good with the bow.
That's a cool skill.
Yes, and I'm like, that is a great skill to have, especially at that age. And I want to teach her all the things as well, you know. But I also want her to have friends. And nowadays, it's just really hard for her to communicate and express because she doesn't have that. So when she does have an inkling or she comes into somebody's space that shows her the quality of friendship, she latches on. And I'm afraid that's me setting her up for failure, that she's going to latch on to men later on in life or match onto her person. Yeah. And I don't want to do that because she has to be dependent on herself.
I agree.
And, you know, that's why I made the choice not to go pick her up yesterday. That was really hard for me as a dad.
That was really hard.
You know, I'm like, well, I got to tell her, hey, your mom's trying. You know, she's trying to do the right thing. Just be patient with her, right? Let's pray for her. Let's do the things. And she's like, no, Dad, I don't want to. I want to come home. She goes, I'm uncomfortable over here. I don't want to be here. Mom's yelling at me, whatever. Okay, Rylan. And then I said, what happened? I said, you were suspended for 2 days. You're not getting your tablet. You're not getting, I want to do Duolingo. No, you're not going to try to get over on me. You're going to be punished for the actions in which you showed, and then you're being punished for being suspended.
Yeah.
I was like, so she goes, but it's like jail over here. And I was like, well, that's the best jail I've ever been to. Yeah. I was like, you get a bed, you get the air conditioner, you get your toys, you get your dog. Like, come on. And she's like, well, Dad, I said, just think about it. I said, your mom and I had a conversation. It was a good conversation. We didn't get upset with each other. Just take it from there. Do the same for your mom. Okay? So she's like, okay, I want to come home tomorrow. So I called her last night before bed, and she's like, I took a shower or a bath, and I got all that extra energy out. And I said, okay, what do you want to do? She's like, I'll stay. And I said, okay. I said, that's a good choice for you. And it was just all the way around, man. She's just a great child. Last Tuesday, we were staying at this campground, and my first experience with a crackhead, and it's was documented on an incident report to the police department. I come and pick her up from school. I said, let's go walk the dogs. I walk the dogs. I have an Italian Connie Corso and a Rocky Mountain Bulldog, and she has a little quarter dog named Chihuahua. And we go outside. We're walking. I let my dogs off the leash because, you know, nobody holds me down to poop, right? So I'm going to let the dogs take off and go. Well, I did. Well, my dog, the Italian, right, she just stands off. She doesn't bark. She just stands there alert, and she lets me know. And then by letting me know someone there, she sits down. So I walk over there. I put the leash on her, and I see this woman over there, you know, 1, 2, just a typical, however you can imagine, right? And I said, oh, I apologize. I didn't know you were standing over here. You know, it's free range. You know, we're in the woods. And she went off on me. I mean, every name in the book. I mean, my daughter was standing there. She was cursing at my daughter. She said, oh, I'm going to kill you guys. And she was following us. I was walking away, you know, just making sure. Well, this is the first time I've ever experienced anything, and I was feeling a certain way. So I could just imagine how a 9-year-old was feeling at the moment. And I sat her down. I said, listen, there's a truck over there off on the side. I said, go knock on their window and ask them to call the police. And I'll tell you why I'm going to get there. She was brave enough to go over there. The man called the police. This woman was throwing rocks at me, spitting at me, just doing all the things. And I was about to release the dogs, but I didn't want to do that, right? Because, you know, you could still be held liable.
Sure.
So he called the cops, and they were there in probably 3 minutes. I mean, it was quick. And I told her, I said, listen, I hear the sirens. This is your last chance to walk away and go do what you do. Otherwise, you're going to be arrested for threatening to kill us. And she didn't listen. So the cops came out there, and you have to have a female to search another female. Well, they treated this woman like a grown man. They put her in handcuffs. I mean, they busted her face on the picnic table. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it was way better than what I would have done.
Yeah.
And they interviewed my daughter, and turns out this woman was allowed in this same place. They've had encounters 6 or 7 times, is what the police officer told me. And I said, man, so when are y'all going to do something about this? Because she could potentially hurt somebody or a child. And they said, well, are you going to press charges? And I said, for what? And they said, well, it's a terroristic threat. She threatened to kill you, and she was following you back to see where you lived. And I was like, will they keep her in jail? And they said, yeah. I said, well, then I'll press charges. You know, and I asked my daughter, I was like, do you want to press charges? And I explained to what that was, and she's like, yeah, Dad, because that's not okay.
Good for her.
So she was so brave. I said all that to say this. She showed me her bravery, the courage that she had to be able to walk up to some complete stranger, which I've told her her whole life don't do. Mm-hmm. And then she went and did anyway, you know, with guidance. And I was like, and I told her, I said, listen, the lesson out of this is don't be like that. If the police come around, be obedient, say yes or no, sir, please. You know, all those things. So if looks could kill, that woman would have killed both of us because she was on fire. And we won't go back to that campground. And it was very humbling to see my 9-year-old be like
step up.
And I think she had the bravery because of the jiu-jitsu that she does.
Don't sell yourself short. It had you too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll give myself the credit. Thank you. And all that, man, it just makes me feel good. Like, that's my daughter. You know, it made me feel like I finally did right.
When they give you those proud dad moments.
Yeah, and it is. And I tell her, like, it's really good for you to do these things. And, you know, I do treat her like I'm guilty. I do treat her because I'm not a woman. I'm a man. I teach her manly things and what to look for. And I have been opening her door for her since she was able to get into the back seat.
Yes, sir.
And I never fail. And we went to the movies one time, and I didn't do it intentionally just to see what she would say. And she'd be like, Dad. I'm like, what? And she's like, the door.
I love it.
I was like, okay. Yes. I said, I got you.
So I've always made that a point to make sure that I do that for the girls and that they see me do that for my wife.
Yeah.
You know, if the girls I try to get, you know, both doors, but there's 3 kids, everyone's running around trying to get in the truck. I always make sure I get my wife first.
Yes.
And the kiddos, they know what to do, and they don't even close the door because they know Dad's right there to close the door.
And then one day they'll miss the little things like that.
Well, you know? Hopefully that we are teaching them that they can find men that do that for them.
Yes, you said it.
That's the whole point of this.
And tell her, hey, you know what? Don't anybody who treats you like crap, don't be around them. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you too. You started a business.
I did.
Outside of your journey with the men's group that we were in. What business did you start? You want to talk about that? What's the name of it?
Sure, man. Thank you. Freedom Performance IV is the name of the business.
Nice.
It is a concierge IV service where we go to any location, people's offices, their homes. I even did one in a QT parking lot. I got into
How long did that take in the QT?
Oh, it's no big deal. These, you know, I tell every client block out an hour of time, so it doesn't take long to get it all set up.
So tell people what that is exactly.
What IV therapy is?
Yeah.
So IV therapy.
A lot of people out there don't know that.
Yeah, you're right. So, you know, when you go to the hospital, if you have an experience going to the hospital, or even, you know, ladies who are in labor, they're going to put an IV in you, and they're going to keep a thing of fluid hooked up to you. So in our modern time that we're able to do this, it's pretty amazing. I think it really blew up in 2020, but I think it came out, I think the first time I remember seeing this, when I was younger, I was watching one of those tattoo reality shows that was based, I think it was Hart and Huntington, you remember that? Based out of Vegas?
Wow.
Yeah, but they were doing IVs there.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if it started in Vegas or not, but obviously that's a great market. Everyone's having a good time. And so it made its way over. I remember working in a small little IV shop, as every paramedic has more than one job. So that was probably my 3rd job of a cluster of jobs at that time. And I learned a little bit of it there. I went back to working the medic thing, and then I found this company. I got to jump on with them as a 1099. Worked with them for a couple years, learned everything I could, and I love what they're doing. I love their mission, but I think God was telling me that I like you said, I have to use my voice. I've always been very vocal. There was a few events in my life where I kind of sunk down, got more quiet, and just kind of, I guess, rolled with the punches. And then I decided to step out and do my own Freedom Performance IV. So we go to people and we help you with everything from COVID to migraines to even folks who just want to live optimum health. So the reason why I love this so much is I still hate the fact that we have to supplement our hydration. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
And especially via IV. So IV, for if you don't know, is we're going to put a needle in your arm, into your vein, and that fluid's going right into the bloodstream, right into the cells, going right to work. And the reason why I say that to help with hydration is our water's demineralized, and people, not everyone's going to want to spend $10 for a good water bottle, It's worth it, but not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
So, and people when people ask me what kind of water I drink, just get Ozarka. It's spring water. Mm-hmm. It sucks that it's in a plastic bottle, but it's spring water. I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but I grew up drinking out of the hose. We grew up drinking out of the hose, and we were fine, right?
What is it they told us? Drinking out of aluminum can would kill you too, right?
Yeah.
You know how many people drink beer out of aluminum can?
Yeah, but it's okay because it's beer.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But I see a lot of different people. The most type of people I see are the acutely ill, people with migraines, COVID, stomach bugs. Right now in this time, it's still kind of cold and flu season. I think I started late, so that's why I'm still busy seeing people with flu. And I'll go see them. We hook you up with that liter of fluid, and it's not always about hydration. I think the hydration is the biggest thing. When people say, man, I really turned around quick. How did that happen? Well, you didn't know it, but you were probably walking around chronically dehydrated. And so in those IVs, though, so that's my basic starter. You can do just a plain bag of fluid, and then we have different tiers of packages that add different vitamins in there. And when I go talk to people, they tell me, a lot of them want, what do I recommend? And I ask them, how you feel, how do you want to feel? And that's my favorite question or favorite statement to say to them. And typically I've been blessed to have regular clients, repeat clients, so I know what they like, I know what they want, I know why they're seeing me. Yeah. When I see new referrals or new clients, that's what I like to ask them. Like, how you feel, how do you want to feel? What's bothering you? What are you lacking in?
Yeah.
So I think with this supplementation, it definitely helps, but I still tell people, just because you had an IV today doesn't mean you're done hydrating, and this is what you need to do to maintain this optimal health. A lot of people say, aren't I just going to pee it out? Yeah, you will, because it's still fluid. But what's cool about it, these vitamins and everything that's going in there, it's going to work right away. It's binding with your blood cells, and your body's real smart. Whatever you don't need, it's going to kick out through your kidneys later. Yeah. And I think alleviating those symptoms and helping people feel better, you put them in a better state of mind, and then they start healing themselves like our body's supposed to. Yeah. I think that has a lot to it.
You think that some of your clients would be like, hey, what else can I do?
So yeah, just like anything else, people, they want more, they want the quick fix, and even some people kind of like, hey man, you called me 4 times this week. what's going on? I would love to serve you every day.
Yeah.
My protocols don't allow that, and as a professional, and I think just as a good person, what's going on? Why do you need this so much? Well, what can I do to help you? Am I not giving you the right tools?
Will I have a hungover?
Some of that there is, I used to, back when the old company, I had these clients, and I haven't heard from them in a long time, but they would text me on a Thursday, say they have a date night on Friday. They got a babysitter, come over Saturday morning. Even with you'd be surprised, the bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, and then some of the debauchery going into like these nice hotels. And people get wild. You know that. You've seen it. We've been a part of it. But my mission now is to try and help people live free. And our slogan, I guess, is the word I'm looking for, is to be the standard.
Yeah.
Be the standard in your family. Be the standard in your core group. You set that standard, but to be the standard, you better start exceeding it, because you want people to live up to that standard. You better go above it. You need to go above it.
Let me ask you, this is where I have been in my mind. So were you scared to fail when you first started this? What was the one thing that the deciding factor that said, I am going to stop being in my own head, and I'm going to pull the trigger, and I'm going to make this work?
Time freedom.
Yeah.
I'm okay taking a risk. I have never been risk adverse.
Yeah.
Even though I probably should have been more in a few things in my life, but I knew I wanted more. I had a great setup with this previous company. They were great. They're great people, and they help a lot of people. They help nurses and medics get out of this 12-hour shift grind. You can really, make a good living at doing this by serving other people and helping them find health in a different way. And that's what I tell all my clients. I'll keep you out of the ER and the urgent care. But as a professional, if I've been in a lot of places or a lot of clients, and I see them like, hey, an IV is not going to help you. I can't help you. We need to go see someone. Either I'm not going to call 911 for you, but you need to go. You need to go somewhere.
Man, this is. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, brother.
I mean,
it is scary.
Everything about it
every day.
It's
anxious every day.
And what's the one factor? Like, what's the self-doubt that you're telling yourself? I'm trying to find a common denominator here, not between you, just men like us trying to get to the next level.
I guess it is that rejection, you know?
Yeah, the
It is
rejection.
the rejection because, like, why didn't anyone like my post? Why didn't I get a new phone call today? Why didn't I get a new membership sign up? I'm out here posting. I'm out here speaking. I'm out here talking to people. It is that fear of rejection, I guess, you know? I've never had a problem public speaking. I've spoken in front of large crowds of people. Being a paramedic, you can't be afraid of public speaking.
Yeah.
And when you're working, everyone's watching you. Everyone and their mom is watching you. So I've never had that problem. But when it comes to like getting on social media, putting my face out there, I was scared. And I'm still scared.
Yeah.
And I think a piece of that, though, a big chunk of it is the people who are going to see it are going to still remember the old crappy Aaron.
So what?
And that's what I'm trying to tell myself. And that's what my wife Christy says. She goes, so what?
That 1.0 version is dead, dude.
It is. And I guess because I still hold on to that I remember even like as a kid, like running around like a little turd, being, you know, a jerk to cousins and other family members, you know, just running around being a little turd, and then getting into school and still being that loudmouth jock, being a turd, you know, lightly putting it. And then my ego and my cockiness and my confidence just kept growing because I got to do cool stuff because, you know, other people are sitting around telling me, oh, I had to file my TPS report. Well, I just pulled a 230-pound man out of a burning car. You know, it sounds really cool, right? And so that builds up. It is, but it is still built up that ego, and that's the biggest enemy. You know, ego can be good, but if you're not careful, it's really the devil building that up.
So you versus you, and the devil is trying to keep you away from that. Mm-hmm. And that's where I was at with starting this podcast is the devil was my friend.
Oh, yeah, we were best friends.
You know, and the devil kept me safe in my times of need and what I thought was safe. And at the same time, when the Lord jumped in, when I stopped being so hard-headed and I accepted the fact that the Lord was trying to help me and he was tired of me doing it my way, but you have to come to that on your own.
You do. And that's what me and Christy talk about all the time. You can only help those who want to help themselves.
Oh, man.
And just like we said before we turned on, you know, God only helps those who help themselves.
That's it. And, you know, I heard this where it says hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And none more is truer. The people that are hurt, I see how they try to manipulate me and try to talk to me. And I understand everybody has a sad story, right? Somebody told me that. And I get it, right? But it's what you do with that. You can't just sit in that sad story forever. And I did. And I use my experiences. That's why this is here and this exists, because I have to be able to use my voice and I have to use my experience. Where this goes, I have no idea. But I know that I have an incredible support system. And I know that there are men out there that believe in me. And not just talking about it. And guess what? They don't charge me anything.
Yeah.
You know, and
that was a weird culmination, you know. But I still hear from Coach Dave. I still hear from Josh.
Yeah.
A few of the guys from our group.
Josh is great, man. All of them are.
They are, you know, and it was what I needed at the time.
Yeah.
It was what I needed at the time. It was a great wake-up call, and it was, like you said, it was men that we can look up to.
Yeah.
My biggest thing, and I don't know what other word to use, is regret, is that I had all these gifts and opportunities, and I squandered them. No one hurt me. I hurt myself.
Yeah.
No one hurt me. I hurt myself.
Wow.
And I just
way to hold yourself accountable for that.
I know
man.
I did. I wasted so much, and that was when I get the chance to open up to Christy and we talk about these things, you know, because she's my best friend. She's the only one who's ever truly understood me and never wanted to change me and just wanted me to be better, you know.
Yeah.
And because that hurt me when people try to change me. Like, who are you? I'm not changing for anybody, you know. But she wanted me to grow, and she did help me grow. But that was my biggest regrets, that no one hurt me. I had all these gifts and opportunities given to me by my parents and by God. And what did I do? I blew it all. And for what? For what? I have these memories. I have all this other stuff, and nights you can't remember, you know, and mornings you regret. Mm-hmm. So now I'm using that as fuel to try and help other people, men and women, but mostly men. Like, you don't have to do that, man. It's not fun. It's not cool. But that's and that's what's so cool about some of these younger generations, these guys that are in, like some of our new military members, man. They don't drink. They don't smoke. a lot of these other people that I'm meeting, you know, you talk about health and wellness, and they're already doing a lot of these things on their own.
Yeah.
You know, and that's awesome. When I was coming up, what were the movies out? American Pie, you know? So that's what you lived up to,
Road
right?
trip.
Road trip, yeah. You know, and then there were still all those, you know, I grew up on 80s movies and
Yeah.
Westerns with my dad. But still, our generation, it was partying and womanizing. And it's okay to have a cigarette and a bong rip and you'll be fine. You can go play your football game the next day. No, you can't. No, you cannot. Not to the level you're expected to.
My man, you know, we can get weird right now because, you know, I didn't have the male role model. Some things happened when I was 12 and I was able to go live with my dad for a brief stint. And speaking to this, you know, sexual education, you know, how to be a man, tough it out, don't cry, blah, blah, blah.
Rub some dirt on it.
Rub some dirt on it. That's fine. And that works for that generation. They taught that. My sexual education came from, unfortunately, my mother in Boys Town, or her house in Mexico. I was 13 years old. So what kind of message do you think that was at 13? To treat women
Disposable.
like they're disposable, to treat them like objects, not to get to know them. I never knew how to talk to women. And I spent the last 7 years learning how to communicate with my daughter, being ashamed of where I came from. And I'm not happy where I came from, but I prayed for forgiveness, not for them, but for me. And then I prayed a blessing over them. And nothing has came to for that yet. I tried to reach out to my dad a few years ago, and he left me on red, as these young people say, right? So
Yeah. I'm sorry that happened to you.
And me too, right? Because me too to an extent, but he's missing out on the best thing that this world's ever produced for me, and that's my daughter and his granddaughter. And he's seen her 3 times. She's 9. 3 times. He wasn't there for my wedding. He wasn't there for my divorce. He wasn't there for when my daughter was in the hospital when she was born. Like, what dad does that?
Yeah.
And then I start looking at, instead of the hatred and the intolerable hatred and the anger and the bitterness that I had for him, was washing over into my marriage. And this is exactly how it went. We met each other in 2012. We dated till 2015. We went to the Justice of Peace in 2015.
You got married before deployment or what?
No. That's where that idea came from. But no. So then we had our wedding. We planned our wedding and got married in 2016. And then we separated in 2017. And then we divorced in 2018. And it has been a wild ride of an attachment. And I've learned from it. But whenever it's one-sided, and I am accountable for my actions and the things that I did, and the other person is not like that, that's like literally adding oil to a fire, right? And or you know, water to oil, you know, or diesel to, you know, whatever the analogies are. And it's not cohesive. It doesn't fit. And I feel the last 9.5 years of my daughter's life, it's just been a constant struggle. Because I have grown, none more than these past 18 months, 19 months, and it's for the better. And I want my daughter to see what life has to truly offer, not the anger, not the yelling, not the bitterness, not any of that. And I had some people who watched my daughter for me when I went to Pursuit, and it's just been stuck in my head. They offered, and then they said, "We want to serve you and your daughter." That just didn't sit well with me. And I started asking questions. You know, the devil started to work. Hey, who are these people? Why do they want to serve you?
What do they want from you?
What do they want from me, right? And I'm like, they couldn't possibly want anything from me. And it was the Lord that put it on their heart to take care of her. And I was like, this is just crazy. I've never experienced anything like this. And leading up to Pursuit, I was going to drive, and I was going to follow behind some people. And I don't like being without my vehicle, no matter, especially 6 hours away.
Yeah.
Then I can't control what I need to control. So I had to learn to let that go. So we went through the experience, got there. The devil's working on me. Don't ride with somebody else. Drive. I want you to drive. Okay. Well, then the last minute, this person says, hey, you're riding with me. I said, okay. In my head, I'm fighting it. No, 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 no. Okay, shut up. I'll ride. No problem. Great experience. Great conversations were had. We get there, and I'm not going to go into detail what happened. But what I did learn from that experience is that I'm a runner. I run away from my problems, whether it's through alcohol, through cannabis, through fighting, through being angry, through yelling, all the things. And that really made me tap into something that the Lord knew that I didn't know. And that also allowed the demons to come in and say, hey, we got you still, and you're not going anywhere. So with that whole experience, I learned how to let that go. And now I'm mindful, I'm involved, and that's one thing that I hated because I felt that I wasn't being accepted because I didn't accept myself.
I can relate.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I hated myself. And I think it was Nate, Coach Nate, who said, with Byron, on a call with Byron, and he said, do you love yourself? And immediately, without hesitation, I said no. And then I was like, man, why did I just blurt that out? That wasn't me speaking, right? And that just set everything in motion. Like, man, I'm in my 40s and I don't love myself. If I don't love myself, how does my daughter love me? How does other people love me? I didn't see the value, right, in what I had. I felt the internal value, but I didn't see the external value. And that's, where I broke down. Can you relate to that?
Definitely. I think a lot of the negative actions and a lot of the regrets that I have was because it wasn't the person or the event that I was taking it out on. I was taking it out on myself. Because when you look in the mirror, I didn't like myself. I was fat. I was overweight. I thought I was hardcore.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
I was the baddest dude in the room. Never backed down from anyone or anything. I was always the first to volunteer for something. And I always was, even today, working with a team of medics and nurses, I ate last. I made sure to eat last because when one of the things that I still hold on to, I guess some of the bad leaders in my career, they never ate last. They never ate last.
Did you eat last because you didn't want people to see what was on your plate?
Oh, no, I never hit that. Everyone knew I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat. I like to eat. I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
I ain't going to go hungry, but I ate last because I didn't want to be like those other people. But that's a side thing. But looking at myself, I hated myself. I wasn't, I might have thought I was a good medic, but I wasn't. I might have thought I was a good man, but I wasn't. It wasn't until Christy opening my eyes, pulling back that haze, that faded,
mask,
that I wore, and then diving into self-development. It sounds so cheesy, those self-help books, Tony Robbins or whatever, but it's true. I stopped drinking after I read Extreme Ownership.
Wow.
It was that quick.
Wow.
And being able to take on that ownership. I think I always took ownership because that's the way my father raised me. But there was also many times, just like you, I ran, or I ignored it, and just if I ignore it, it'll go away. This can come back later.
And bite you right square in the butt.
Mm-hmm. Or pop you right in the nose. It's going to come back. But I think ultimately, because of the choices that I made, whether it was bad diet, lack of sleep, and the things that I was consuming. There's a reason why they call it devil music. It's true. You start consuming all that crap, you start to feel it, you start to believe it, you start to maybe think you relate to those people singing those lyrics that, man, I feel that way too. And in reality, it's just polluting your mind.
What is it that Jason D. Ford says, a.k.a. Jelly Roll, for those who don't know? I'm always one drink away from the devil. No true words have been spoken, man, because... That's why when people say, why do you not drink? Well, why do you not work out?
Yeah, I don't get that.
You know what I'm saying?
We have a family friend, and I love them both. But every time I see him, he asks me, still not drinking? Still not drinking? Like, yeah, brother.
Like, still not working out.
I want to, and I tell them, I say, you should come work out with me. I always invite everyone to come work out with me because that's first it's going to be great for physical. Yeah. And then we have a chance to hang out and talk. We can bond a little bit more. And his response to me was, I just kind of want to tone up. And I was like, I've never heard a man in my life say that. Like, yeah. And
was it on his calf muscles?
I guess, but for me, again, the ego coming at you. I like to lift heavy.
Yeah.
I like to go hard.
Yeah.
I maybe it is counterproductive, like some people say, but I want to be exhausted after my workout. Yeah. But afterward, I can still go about my day. Depending on schedule. This morning I was at the gym at 6. Yesterday I didn't get to the gym till noon, but I ain't missing.
Yeah.
It's like Byron says, don't miss.
Don't miss.
Easy. Don't miss.
Run the play.
Run the play. It's just don't miss,
Yeah.
So as simple as that. But, improving on yourself in that way, physically and spiritually, I believe they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
It opens you up more.
Yeah.
And you have to be able, like you said, to be open to receive the Lord,
Yeah.
And I still struggle with that too because of being raised Catholic and seeing how, in my opinion, it's not popular opinion, but I think Catholicism is probably one of the biggest gangs in the world and probably one of the most corrupt systems in the world.
Yeah.
It's written that the devil will come back dressed in white. Who dresses in white? The Pope. Look at some of the things that he's wearing. Look at some of the things that are the symbols on his staff.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. It really is.
It is scary. And I noticed you make some post about that. Let's talk about that a little more, man.
Sure.
Tell me more on your thoughts with that.
Man, so the school I went to, the high school I went to, the Catholic school, a lot of the Catholic schools are run by, I forgot the word they use, but groups of Catholic sects, like, the Jesuits, the Jesuit schools. Our school was run by a group called the Legionnaires of Christ. And we had priests, we had brothers, there was the lead people who ran it from Rome and the different parts of the country and the world. And then it came out that the founder, the leader, he was doing things with kids, and that kept coming out more and more and more, not just him.
He was never punished for it.
He had never punished for it. And then I started diving more into the history of Catholicism. The Vatican never took a stance in World War II. They never stand up to much of anything that I started to notice. I will say, and I wish I would have studied more on Pope John Paul II, but he did speak out on a lot of things. But it turns out that, maybe he was being corrupted by other things. And if you look at the history, even from the schism with Catholicism and Protestantism, it's these people with money and the kings and the royalty that were, hey, do this for me. Let's make this law.
Here's some money under the table.
Here's some money, So what I noticed and that really messed with me. Like, why am I going to follow these people who maybe they didn't know, maybe they did know, but you're still under this group that was your leader. And I hate to do that to group a whole bunch of people or group an organization just because there was a bad seed. In Keller, there was those pastors that got caught, and youth group leaders. I think as men, we only have 2 rules in this world: no women, no children. That leaves a lot open to do, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just as guilty. I wish I could have been more gentle with my kids. I wish I would have treated women with more respect.
But you do now, so that's
because
you found
thank
out.
God for my wife. She, my mom tried, and I was probably really tough on my mom. I know I was probably really hard to love.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for my wife teaching me the ways of women, I would still be ignorant today.
And what is it they say? Those who are hardest to love need it the most.
That's exactly true, man. It's true. And, my dad never gave up on me no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel right now with my 14-year-old. So
Yeah.
I think you're
getting it back times 3.
So I call my parents and I tell them I'm sorry. I both my parents. I said I didn't realize. I realize now. You guys come home from a hard day at work, a long day. You already had a 12-hour day, and then you got to deal with me. And I'm sorry.
That's good.
Yeah, man, it was really enlightening. But back to the religion aspect, that Catholicism really it bugs me and still bugs me now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've read this too, and it still trips me up when I'm trying to dive into my devotionals and my faith. Like, is it Yeshua? Is it Jesus? Is Jesus a false prophet?
Well,
is
Yeshua is Jesus.
And that's what they say. I think sometimes, and Christy will tell you too, I might get a little lost in these conspiracies and a little too much deep
Or
dive.
Yahweh, Yahweh.
Yahweh,
That's
it's
Jesus,
Yeshua, yeah. Or Yeshua. So it does still trip me up. But one thing that doesn't, that remains constant, that is, if you pray and you ask for that strength and you ask for, when I ask for patience and fortitude, you're going to get an event that's going to make you have patience and fortitude. So don't be mad when it comes.
We need to get you in on a pursuit trip, man, because...
So it's funny that you said that, because Mr. Russell reached out to me last night.
Hot dog.
And so I'm going to call him, he's going to call me this evening. So we'll talk about it. So,
I hope, man. Look,
you're going to help out in the one coming in March.
I want to serve in March. I do. I want to go to that one. I need to get back there. A lot of guys are going to serve in that, and I want to be there for you, and I want to support you in that, man. It's something that
I know I need something like that. I think I've always been searching for something like that, right? So trying to join the military, from doing EMS and being in that kind of alpha kind of thing.
Yeah.
Finding the men's group, trying to find other groups where I fit. Not a lot of people know this. The people who know me know I have a half brother. He's my older brother. But I think since he was never around, I was always kind of seeking that out, like an older brother kind of thing. And now I'm over it. He's going to do what he's going to do. We don't talk or anything. But I remember when I was younger, I was like, I could have used some help with Dad. I could have used some guidance. I could have done this, could have done that. But him not being around was God's way of showing me that shut up and listen to your father.
Yeah.
Shut up and listen to your father.
Be obedient to your father. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it? The commandments, right?
Honor your mother and father. That's number 4. See that, and that's also in Catholicism. We learn about that, and that's really all you got to live by. It's really the only thing you need to live by, those 10 commandments, and you'll be a good person.
And that's where I wanted to tap into the Bible, because I've never done that my entire life, and I know there's a lot of people out there that don't do that. You know who you are.
I've only recently started getting into it.
Same here.
I have a couple Bibles at home. I use the Bible chat app and then the U version.
Yep.
So I'm always on every
Those are
day.
good.
First. So my morning routine when I get up, I get up, wash my face, brush my teeth. I go make Christy and I coffee, and then I come back and we kind of sip our coffee in bed. And when we're doing it, right there, because in that moment I gotta let the dogs out, feed the dog. You're kind of busy right there in that first 20 minutes. But when I get to sit back down with my coffee, boom, open up my devotional. And every time I don't do that, my day is crappy. I'm nasty or something.
Same thing with working out.
You're
working out the Bible, right?
Same
That's
thing.
how it is. Your mind.
You're working your mind. You're working your faith. So I don't know what denomination is what. Which one's better? I think if you just leave your heart open to serve and to leave it open to absorb what the Lord is trying to tell you, then you'll do fine.
And and I'll speak to that. I was a non-denominational guy. I try to fit into these about money churches and these big Joel Osteen type churches, and I never found the value in church. I'm like, well, I can pray to God in my home on my knees and still get the same aspect. And that was the part where I did it my way, right? I was always the guy sitting in the back row. I'd sit in the back, people would worship, I would sit down, I would never stand up. And with my journey at Pursuit, I said, you know what, because I made a plan going into the Pursuit, and then that plan was just demolished. But you only get out of the Pursuit, it's your pursuit, what you put into it. And I told myself, this is it. There's nothing else left. And I don't go to my knees for no man. Never have. And I did. I did not sit in the back row. I sat in the front seat. First seat. And I was speaking up in front of these men I didn't even know. And I feel that kind of set the pace for the weekend, because, okay, this guy just jumped in with his whole force of his body. And I just felt the Holy Spirit come over me. And I let everything go. And it was the best decision I ever made. So I'll tell you, when I said that I was always sitting in the back row, that's my whole life. Like, I've been in the back seat my whole life. And God's plan for me is to be in the front row. You know what I mean?
I think that's his plan for all of us. We just have to accept it. I always, what you said, the back row, front row. When I heard someone say, be the main character in your life, I was like, dang, man. You don't want to be that NPC, that non-playable character, right? So instead of going with the flow and not having a plan, when I started writing out a plan and sticking to it, my life started to change.
Man, and that's something that Joe and all them put in our heads and try to beat into us. And as Byron said, it is that easy. You just have to be willing to do it. And a lot of these people don't have the know-how. Or what I tell my daughter, she's 9, by the way, that you don't have the want to.
The want to, yeah. You
Right?
have to want to.
You have to want to do it. And it's so sad because our pastor even talked about this, man. He said that National Quitters Day was on last Friday.
Yeah.
It was last Friday, the second Friday
Second
in
week of
January.
right?
And I was like, no. Well, I've
I've never heard that before either.
I've been at the gym for 2 years, right? Not this same gym, but any gym. And I noticed people would come in and they'd be hardcore for a week or two. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, instead of making fun of these people and laughing at them, right? Help them. That was the first year. Now, the second year, I'm at my laugh time right over here where, same place you work out at. And I started noticing it again. And I was like, man, this is, why are you here, right? And instead of doing the laughing, I said, what are your goals? 95% of them didn't even have one. They're like, I'm just here. Well, you need some help? I'll help you. I'm in here every day, and people know how I work out, and Joe's workouts are no slouch, bro.
Hard.
Like, come at me if you want to, because I'm going to make sure you leave here.
I love watching his videos of him working out.
Oh,
I'm like,
dude.
Look at him pull all that.
I hope he gets into Muay Thai. I will support that. I will go to him and watch him fight. I'll be his corner man.
That'd be cool.
That guy he could hurt somebody.
I don't know.
For
the
sure.
more I've learned and read about the Rangers, I don't think I want to cross Joe.
Oh, that dude he's a whole different level of dude.
I think so.
And, it's good to be a part of that situation because he has a heart. And
I noticed.
And he doesn't do it for the money, man. Now, there is always an aspect to that. I mean, let's be honest, right? But
we're supposed to serve each other.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
He serves. And there's no greater purpose in my mind than to serve others. And back to the church, right? A lot of people get church hurt. I use that word a lot.
Yeah, it happened to us.
So I stopped sitting in the back row, and I finally joined a church. I became a member at First Baptist Church under Pastor Lucas Pinkard. And I'm telling you, this man is the youngest Baptist preacher I've ever met in my entire life. And he preaches from his life experience. And it's so powerful, and he's so emotional when he speaks. And I'm like, do I want to become a member of a Baptist church? Like, this is like, I remember going to old Southern Baptist church with my mama and papa back in the day, and I know how that was.
They get down.
Whew.
My grandmother was Baptist, and most of it was in Spanish, and it was a good time. They had a good time.
He wears a 3-piece suit. He wears little biker rings. He used to have long, big old beard and long hair, and he kind of looked like Hank Williams Jr. And I was like, oh, this guy's got it going on over here.
He lived a little bit.
And I had a conversation with him. I was put in contact with him by a friend of mine, and I tell you, it just blew my mind. I felt like I fit in. I was welcomed, and it was more than any other church I've been to. And I'm like, this just blew my mind. That was the devil telling me they all go to the non-denominational because I would go get my fix and listen to the message and get excited. And then we'd have to leave. And then guess what? People would go out the window.
When we would go to a non-denominational when we used to live in Mansfield, every time we went, Christian and I both agreed that was exactly what I wanted to hear or needed to hear. Not what I wanted to hear, exactly what I needed to hear.
Yes, sir.
But then we saw the hypocrisy and what they were saying and what the guy at the front, I don't know if he pastor, reverend, whatever, with the non-denominational, it just seemed so hypocritical to me. I had a moment we were sitting there, and he was talking about welcoming people into the church, and then he started, out loud excluding groups of people, and it was just
false prophet, man.
Yeah, Jesus ate and dined with prostitutes and murderers.
Dude,
those are the people who
those were his people,
most, right?
Yeah.
So you're over here, you just want affluent people, you just want good-looking people. Like, what's your motive? And then that also ties back to my own feelings. Like you're able to trust these people, and that you've met good people that I know too, and I've had the biggest, hardest time trusting men.
Cookie Monster.
But you meet someone that they're doing something good or nice for you, and all I can think is why. What do you want?
What's your intentions, right?
You know, and it was. I guess I always thought that way because I'm blessed to have my core group of friends. I know I can trust them no matter what, and they can trust me.
What is it they say? Your 3 a.m. friend?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know.
Explain what that is.
Oh man, you call your 3 a.m. friend. You know, you call that dude or that lady, and they're gonna pick up. You may have to call them once or twice and wake them up, but they're gonna pick up and they'll be there. Just like that clip from The Town. I love that clip. It's terrible, but I love that clip. You know, I gotta pick you up. We might hurt some people. Like, whose car are we gonna take?
Oh yeah, that's what he says. Yeah, he
that's
did.
The kind of friend you want, right?
Whose car are we taking?
Yeah. But I know my group chat of my boys. I know if I called any of them, it'll first be my younger brother, and if he can't help me or something else, I know I can reach out to people. But what I've noticed, and I never thought this way of myself until I've gotten older, until Christy pointed it out, is people call me. That's why I keep my phone on loud. And it's my job, and I've noticed that it's my responsibility to be the shepherd of my flock.
Of your flock, yes.
Of my flock, yes. Of the people in the groups, in my group. And to me, to also still be that lamb and to be able to submit to the Lord, you know, without letting my pride and ego. Because just like you, I ain't bending my knee for anybody, you know. I used to think that way, but I could always, no problem. And I never experienced this with anybody. With Christy, I could do it. I could serve my wife. I could submit to my wife, no problem. I love her, and I know she loves me. Easy to do. But I never had that same ease of doing it for the Lord. Why not? You know, my pride. My pride.
There it is, man. We have that. And then some people will use that. There are people that will say, I don't care about calories and I don't care what I eat. Well, I mean, have you ever? Yeah. Then no wonder you're being all defensive about being called fat, right? Because you don't know. You don't understand it. You know why I say that? Because I was that guy. Mm-hmm. Calories? What are calories? I'm opening plastic food and not realizing the nasty ingredients that are in there. And I just recently started staying away from Chick-fil-A because that's the only restaurant that I would eat at with Chick-fil-A. I'm like, oh, it's good Chick-fil-A. And then I had to
read all the ingredients.
Well, I had a conversation with Josh, and he's like, no, dude, don't eat that. That's not good. And I was like, why? And then I read the ingredients.
No fast food is food.
And I was like, this is insane. Like, they're keeping us fat for real. Like, they're doing some work here. And then Taco Bell, they have that graded D meat. Like, that's worse than dog food. Yeah. The ingredient-wise. Yeah. And people tear that up like it's going out of style. Same way. Yeah. I used to go to McDonald's and get the 10 double cheeseburgers when they were actually $1.
Oh, yeah.
After being drunk and slurring my words,
I was just about to say the same thing. After a drunk night, what's open? Whataburger. Yeah, and you spend $25 on one meal. And you're like, you just ate $25 worth. After you probably went to dinner and then drank and had snacks, and then 3 a.m. When the bars close, you go eat even more.
When this gets done in a week, we're going to be able to do. I went to McDonald's, and I bought a double quarter pounder with cheese and fries, and I put it in a bag, and I've left it. It's been there for 2 weeks already.
Hadn't molded, has it?
Nah, we haven't opened it yet. Okay. And I said, Rylan, if it's the same as it was when we got it, you were never eating here again, because her mom thinks that's okay. Oh, well, she has the chicken nuggets. Well, what in the world do you think? That is not chicken. Yeah.
She got to show her that video of the pink slime.
Oh, man.
See, my kids are hip to that. They know. They're really. Yeah. Thankfully, Christy's always giving them good food, baby food. She made her own baby food, you know, for the girls. You know, breastfed until she couldn't, and made her own baby food. Yeah. We don't buy a bunch of junk. We love cake and ice cream. We love cookies. We still want, like I tell my kids, I want you to enjoy your life. Yes. But we can't have dessert every day. Yeah. We can't have dessert every day. But, you know, so during the Christmas break, I guess just like my family, you know, I got kind of loved with food.
It's okay. Say it, brother. Say it.
It's okay. I got loved with food. And so one morning, my 11-year-old goes, Dad, what's for breakfast? Can we have ice cream? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you can. Go get that ice cream. Have ice cream for breakfast. And I look at it like, was that the best decision? Maybe not. But you know what? One day they're going to grow up and be adults and have to really focus down on that. Yeah. And we do instill good values in them, and we tell them we're going to work out. Even when they don't want to, you're going to come walk the dog with me. We're going to walk this 3 miles. You'll be okay. So we do instill that in them, and they see us both working out, because Christy works out religiously too. She never misses either.
Y'all two, what do they say? Couples who work out together stay together.
I love working out.
I love watching y'all's, man, on your videos.
It took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was the man, and I'm gonna work out. You can't keep up with me. I don't want to slow down. I don't want to take off my heavyweight and put on your lightweight. But that was, again, my pride and my ego. I did not submit to my wife.
What gave her the confidence to start working out with you? It's probably a question for her.
Probably for her, but I think it's because she trusts and loves me.
Yeah. Did she ever tell herself, "Well, I can't do what you can do"?
I mean, sure. Men and women working out, right? But she's always been. She'll even tell you she didn't grow up playing sports or anything like that. She was a drum major, which is awesome. But she was always into working out. She did jujitsu.
Nice.
You know, we're trying to get back into that. We want to get the kids into that. We tried to get them into it over at 360 Fitness. JP will know about it with Justin Blythe.
Okay,
And,
I think
and
there's
Paul over there at
Peak
MMA.
It used to be Peak Performance MMA.
Peak Performance. Yeah. So, but they didn't like rolling with the boys, and there was only a couple girls in there.
Wow.
So we'll try and get them back in it again. I think they might have been too young.
I think you might be close to a Double Five affiliate. I think it's called Mid Cities.
There's one off 820. Yeah.
And that guy is ran by Tanner Collins, I believe his name is.
I'm not sure.
He's a black belt, and he has white hair. The guy is a stud.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of friends, lady friends, that go over there. And I'll put y'all in contact with her before we leave. They do jiu-jitsu, and they're building up their women base too. Because at Formiga's gym here in Highland Village, these girls, Robin, Mary, and a lot of that I'm not naming, they are such a tight-knit group. And they have built themselves up from, I think, 1 or 2 girls that were there. Now there's probably almost 10 females. And I could see that from a man's point. Like, they don't want to roll around with a man. I get that because, we could hurt each other. But there are some women.
And I tell them, like, who's going to attack you? Not a woman. Right?
This is true. But if you get a weak man who's going to prey on a woman like that woman who is talented and capable, she's going to hurt that man. Like Coach Victoria at the gym.
Yeah.
I would never even cross her, I promise you.
I love letting my kids see strong women.
Yes.
So my favorite movie of all time is Aliens. Who wouldn't? I wanted to be a space marine for the longest time.
Nice.
Right? Ever since I saw it, I was a space marine for Halloween for like 4 years now.
Now they're going to go to the Space Force now because of you.
Oh, gosh. But the lead character, the heroine in it, is a female.
Yep.
And I'm like, you see what girls can do? You see what girls can do.
Good
Even if
job,
it's a
Dad.
movie, right? But like, look how awesome women can be. Just because you're a female and you're not as strong or as big as a man doesn't mean you can't do what men do.
Very capable.
I always love showing them stuff like that, man.
It is. And then it builds them up, too, because they're like, oh, well, my dad says. And then it builds their confidence up. And you got to have strong, confident women. And that's one thing that I was there. Like, I've been at the gym for over a year, right at a year, and I haven't rolled with one woman. There was one woman when she was a white belt, and her name was Robin, and she's just tiny, but very, very mighty. And it was Robin and Dave, the one who got me in contact with Pursuit, right? Mm-hmm. And she's a beast. I mean, she can handle her own.
It's awesome.
And she's not afraid. And that's, I believe, what Formiga is there to teach. Because you have to be capable and you have to be confident. And when you see other women, just like other men, like when you said earlier, I thought I was bad. Boy, give me a shot of whiskey or Rumple or whatever. I'm 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and you can't touch me. And then I went into that gym, and man, I was humbled immediately.
Tossed around like a rag doll.
Oh, man. And they knew it, too. They're like, oh, who's this guy? And then the anger, remember what I told you? I'm always wanting to move ahead, and I want to power my way through. Well, jiu-jitsu is opposite, right? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Strength works, right?
Kinetic chess, right?
Technique works the best. And these guys, even rolling with JP, man, that guy, he gets me every time, so far. But, I got to put in the work to be able to get to their level. And then I look like, man, why are these guys so good? It didn't happen overnight. You don't
training for years.
You don't get these belts. Like, how come our coach is a 5th-degree black belt? He's amazing. He's 16-time world champion. I mean, this guy is every bit of what his resume is. How do you get to be that good? People say, well, I want to be like that. Well, he's been doing this since he was 10 years old.
Yeah.
So he knows exactly what he needs to do. Like, he makes it look easy. And that's a lot with life, right? You got to be able to slow down and move to the next level. You guys, I'll get you in contact with them. I think it'd be a great fit for you guys.
That'd be cool.
I think there's Falcon BJJ over there too. I just don't know how.
There's a few around us. So we had an incident. I'll tell you. I'll elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, come on.
All right. So I don't know if I told you this. A lot of people don't. The people that do know me know. But my 3 girls are my stepgirls. They're my stepdaughters. So,
but you're still a dad. It doesn't matter about the step part.
So I don't use that word. You know, I don't call them my stepdaughters. I don't say I'm a stepdad. I say I'm a parent. You know, I'm a dad. And when I came into their lives, you know, when this all went down, I said, you call me whatever you want as long as it's respectful. You don't have to call me daddy. You don't have to call me dad. You call me Aaron if you want to. On their own, all 3 of them, dad and daddy. And even to this day, my 14-year-old doesn't call me daddy anymore. She calls me dad.
Well, it's because you're their dad.
And that's how I feel. But so when we put them in jiu-jitsu the first time over there with Paul at Peak, it went fine. It was hard. You know, a couple times my 9-year-old, I think she was probably 6 or 7 at the time, she would walk off the mat. I kind of let her calm down. And I was like, hey, I need you to get back out there.
Yeah.
And maybe they didn't express this to me, but when they went to their other house, they expressed how they thought they were being forced, this, and that. You know, they didn't want to roll with the boys. They're making me do this. It's too hard. And it blew up to be a big incident. So I think you know, I don't want to push them to that point to where I'm making them feel like I'm forcing you to do something, like I'm shoving it down your throat, because, you know, then they're not going to like it. They're not going to love it. But then I struggle with, you need to know something to protect yourself. You've never been in a difficult situation. Like, I was blessed I had a couple scraps coming up, and playing football, you can take some hits in contact and be smothered, and you know you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. If you can get out of it and you know what to do and not panic. But, you know, I need them to have that training. I want them to have that training, but I also don't want to push them away.
Yeah.
So I struggle with that.
Do you do jiu-jitsu yourself?
Not anymore. No, I did once, but no, I put all my time and eggs into this one basket. My days always start between 4 and 6 a.m. depending on the day. I have to, depending on the day again, I might have to take the kids to school. Sometimes I got to pick them up. I see clients throughout the day. If I'm lucky, I'll get to the gym first thing, or I'll hit it in the afternoon. There was last week, I think I didn't get there till like 1700. You know.
Yeah.
But I wish I could be a little more regiment in my schedule, but I also don't want to be stiff. I want to be able to be flexible. So, because my biggest thing where I get the happiest is when I serve Christy and the girls.
Yeah. You know, we'll get back to serving Christy and the girls. How I can offer you some advice is Rylan started jiu-jitsu before I did. And I noticed that it was different because she was just like, And I was like, you know what? I see all these dads on the sideline, fat dads, trying to coach their kids and don't know anything about jiu-jitsu. I was like, ooh, I'm not that guy. So I was like, I'm going to start jiu-jitsu. Rylan, what are your thoughts about us doing jiu-jitsu together?
She loved it.
Bro, I didn't want to force that on her. She made that choice by herself. Now she'll go to the other parent and say, oh, I don't want to wrestle with boys. Or she went there Monday and took her, and she's like, well, they were so mean to her. I was like, no, you've been one time in over a year. What do you mean they were mean to her? Yeah. And I was like, look, I asked the professor to turn it up because she has an attitude problem, and we need to be able to stress her out to see what she can and cannot take without breaking and getting mad. Well, they sent the rain, and she handled herself, and she made it through these rounds. She was just hurt that some of these guys that she calls friends would do that to her. And I'm like, that tells me that I need to start getting her in competitions so she can see what that looks like.
Wins. So
now I have a competition February 1st, and she's going to just be there as a viewer, just to watch.
Going to the Open?
Yeah, it's Jiu-Jitsu World League.
Okay.
In Frisco.
That's so cool.
And
we're going to send me the info so I can come see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Come support, man. That'd be great. And I love the gym that I'm at because it's a big family. And they come up, they show up. Most of them will bring their kids, and they all hang out together, and that's my experience. And, man, I don't want to lose. So I've been working on my gas tank, and when you're under, I'm 240, and if you're under big boys that are 260 even, like my 260 is different from somebody else's 260.
Sure.
Or, 240 to somebody else's 280. And that's the worst possible position to be in is on the bottom, especially when a big man is on top of you. So I have to learn to keep the gas tank, wait, slow down, be still, and then work on my technique.
Maneuver, yeah.
Because I can use my strength. If I use my strength in the first 5 seconds, like 30 seconds, because I'm going to get wore out, especially with the big dude. So I have to let there and take a pounding, right? I have to be the nail again. And Rollins, I keep saying her name. We're going to have to edit that out. I keep telling her, baby, I'm the nail. I can't even remember the last time I submitted somebody, but I go all in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm getting better with blue belts. Like I can get rear naked chokes. I just can't lock them in and things like that. And it takes talent. And it's a good journey for me because now I know what I'm doing. And, I had a goal to get promoted, but I blew my knee out. There's another setback. And then I asked myself, well, am I that good? I had a conversation with the coach, and he spoke the truth. And he told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. And he's not just going to give you a belt. That's not how he works. Like, you have to earn that and you earn that by showing up every day. And he doesn't give us stripes on a belt. Mm-hmm. He doesn't do that. He believes in showing up, consistency, discipline, and putting in the work while you're there. And that's how you're going to get promoted because he notices that. He has the talent for that. So back to you and Christy, man. I understand you said you wanted to serve them and it makes you feel good. And your daughters came to you. I would have never known that had you not said that.
A lot of people say that. I don't treat them that way. I don't like
you
them.
Don't.
And I also came to terms with it because Jesus was a stepson. Joseph was a stepfather.
My man.
This whole, whatever people look at it as, like it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That I can be there for them.
And, I think this is going to be a good thing because Pursuit also offers not just for, I think man should go to the men's one, women should go to the women first. If you're married, then they have a married one.
I read that, yeah.
And if you feel that your relationship is good enough to just dive in and go for the married one, Matt'll.
I really believe that we have the best relationship. I would love to say we have the best relationship out of anybody. But I also know, and she'll agree too, that we can always improve. We can always go deeper and be better.
100%.
We disagree. We argue, but we don't go to bed angry.
Yes.
We don't yell at each other. I make it a point of pride that I've never yelled at her. I've never cursed at her.
Called her out of her name?
No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I can be a little rough and tumble. I can be a little too blunt.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to raise my voice at her.
Yeah.
I wish I wouldn't have raised my voice at the kids so much. That's me learning and growing as a parent.
But you didn't have, there's no instruction manual.
Sure, yeah. And when I look back at it, if my dad yelled at me, it's because I deserved it.
Yeah.
If I got a whooping, it's because I deserved it.
Yep. And nowadays, if you even threaten a whooping, because, I spank my child. I mean, that's my right as a parent to do that, but I don't make it obsessive.
Sure.
I say, you're going to stand there.
They earn it.
And I said, you did this. I said, it's my job. I said, it pains me to put you through this. Mm-hmm. Just know that. She'll be like, Dad, can I get a hug first? I said,
trying to make you cry.
I said, I know you know what you're doing. I was like, but you can have a hug after, okay? And in the Bible it says to spare the rod and save the child, right? But it also says you have to discipline your children. And if she can only learn one way, then that's what's going to happen. And she goes to her mother and she tells her a different sad story and blah, blah, blah. Kind of like the manipulation tactic that she knows all too well.
They do.
And she knows how to play her dad's heartstrings. I don't want to do it, but then I find myself raising my voice. And I'm like, I'm just done. We're just going to knock this out. You're going to get 2 pops, and then we can go back to our day. And she has handled that so well. I think I even gave her 2 or more than 2. And she's like, you lied. You told me you were only going to do 2.
It's like when you're in football and they say only one more sprint.
and I said, listen, but did you not lie? You lied to me and told me you wouldn't do this, right? And she you could tell she was catching on. She's like, oh, I did. And I was like, I said, I had to break my word to you. I said, because what you did was really wrong. You put me in a tough spot.
It's so cool to see them have those epiphanies. And
it is. Yes, it is. And they do go off all the time, man. It's just like that.
Just like a cartoon, too. You see it right over their head.
It is. And they, what do you think of my logo here?
Oh, I love it. From the ashes.
Rising from the ashes, using the voice. It's good. I'm getting some gear made. Going to get some hats and
some merch made.
Yeah, I want to check it out and see, and then come on with a play on words to see where we're at with that.
I like it, dude.
All right, Aaron. Look, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It means a lot to me. It's my first. I'm going to remember you as my first guest forever. Any words of wisdom or encouragement that you would like to shout out?
Stop relying on someone else to come and save you.
My man.
Stop thinking a politician's going to save you. Stop thinking some someone else is going to come clean it up and take care of it for you. The only one that's going to take care of it for you is the Lord, and ultimately yourself.
Yes.
You have to put that foot forward. You can't stop. You got to stop blaming everyone for your problems. You got to stop whining and crying about everything. Take that moment, feel what you need to feel, let it all out, and then tighten up them boots and move forward.
That's it. Every day, man. I want to get together with you on this ruck march, man. I really want to do that.
The new series is coming out, man. So I know last year they started in April, and for those that don't know, it's 50 for the Fallen. I love those guys. 50 for the Fallen. 50ftf.org. They support our veterans, and now this year they're moving into supporting our first responder community, which is very close to my heart. I love those guys over there. I talk to those guys, at least a couple of them, on Instagram every day. They've been there for me. Hansberger knows a few of them.
Yeah.
Joe knows them.
Nice.
So I'd love for you to get involved, man. That 50 ruck, though, man, long 18 hours.
I might have to do it bare feet.
Do it. Do whatever you got to
Well,
do.
that'd be great, though,
Well,
to
you got
follow
those
that.
grunt feet, don't you?
Yeah, man. They
You would love it, man. And then being around a group of like-minded people, and for me too, selfishly, it's pushing myself.
Yeah.
And when I first met Chad Conley, one of the founders, he asked me, "Well, why are you here?" And I said, "Well, selfishly, because I wanted to push myself. But my big reason is I know I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for someone who saved my dad's life." You know, when we're talking about the veteran community, you know, is PFC Bruce Wayne Carter. You guys can Google him. Threw himself on a grenade in Vietnam, 1968,
Wow.
1969. And when that happened, you know, I know it's close to my dad's heart. And I don't know if he ever hears this, it probably would bug him a little bit. You know, a lot of guys from that time, he's still pretty angry and bitter about that time, you know. But I was fortunate that my brother-in-law, you know, he was in the cavalry, in the army, went to Iraq. But he went to he got to go to D.C., took his kids to D.C., went to the Vietnam Memorial for me, and etched that name and framed it. And when he gave it to my dad, he broke down. So that's one person that I talk about every time when I'm doing something for the veteran community or if I'm out there for the 50. Obviously, all the guys in our generation, you and other people who served, love all you guys. But that one always sticks with me in the forefront. I'm getting chills just talking.
No, that's good, man. That's your dad too, man.
Yeah,
So
man, so I know, you know. And Sean Ryan was just talking. I was listening to him on the way here. He had Leif Babin on, and they were talking about, you know, we took care of that, and I saved that one airman, soldier, marine, whatever. I saved that life, but it wasn't just that one life. It was generations. It was his life, the kids, the grandkids, on forward. And so I feel, not that I owe a debt, but I feel like I'm not going to let anyone forget his name, especially. And it kind of bugs me, but when you look on the new Medal of Honor facility that they're building over there in Arlington, they got a lot of good people supporting it. You look on their Instagram, and they have a list of, not a list, but, you know, they put pictures up of recipients. Still haven't seen his name on there.
no.
There's a lot of them out there, a lot of recipients out there, and I've definitely messaged out. I said, please don't forget. Please don't forget.
Okay, good. At least you did that.
I do. And I got to meet Kyle Carpenter. So when I met JP at the muster, it happened to be, I thought he was there for Jocko's muster, but he was there for a different event.
What muster did you do?
I think it was in 21 or 22.
Okay, yeah. I want to go to the next one that comes to Dallas. I'm
Yeah.
interested in it to see.
It's awesome.
Is it?
I thought it was awesome. I still read the notes that I took.
I'm going to crush the workout, baby.
Man, it's fun. It's cool to be out there. But, you know, of course, Jocko and his burpees. At that time, I was still trying to get into it. And he caught me. I'm catching my breath. He walks up to me, and he puts them out. He goes, go. And I'm like, ugh. But I got to meet Kyle Carpenter there, and I know he was involved.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, please don't forget this. And he goes, I won't, and I'll remember you and your dad. And I hope he has. I know that was a couple years
He will.
ago.
If he said it, he would, man.
Right.
Look, for you to even make it do it, I was going to say, was it hard? But I know what hard looks like for both of us, and that probably wasn't hard. Was the workout good?
Oh, yeah. It's a great workout.
It's good.
It's not going to, it's hard.
Yeah,
It ain't
of
going
course.
to kill you.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
especially with all the work you're putting in, you'll
Yeah.
be fine. I could do, you know, I know I'm going to do better than I did a couple of years ago, but it's still a tough workout.
Those burpees, man, and I've been working on them. We were blessed enough to get some tickets to go work out with Tim Kennedy.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Okay, for Veterans Day at the Cowboy at Fort, I guess it's the Ford Center where the Cowboys work out.
Yeah, Frisco, right?
Yeah, in Frisco. And I tell you, I was nervous, but I went with Dave and Arturo and a couple other guys, Augusta. We were all there. It was a great time. But Tim Kennedy, man, He's a monster, man.
I've seen his workouts on YouTube.
Yo, they say he's 5'11". He ain't 5'11". I'm just gonna throw that out there in his fight bio, right? But I mean, I'm 5'11", bro. So I mean, and I've got pictures where he's next to me. I'm like, come on. But he is a machine.
He has a presence about him. I met him in Dallas when they Saving Our Allies, the movie came out. Me and my brother went to Alamo Draft House and got to watch that premiere.
Dude,
it was pretty tough.
Bro, he has legs on him like this.
Yeah, they're huge.
So
He's
did
big.
we did a lot of burpees. We did some jumping barrel rolls backwards, and then you have to get back up, and then some lunges. And man, I was smoked by the last one. I was like, "Oh, he called it off because he knew the people were struggling at the end." And he's like, "Time to go. The Cowboys are coming out here." And I'm not a Cowboy fan at all. So it was fun to be there and be in the building and be in the presence of some great people. But when we know hard, it makes me question the athletes nowadays. And we can get into that later, man. But I think some of these athletes are just too soft. They get paid millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. And then I had a couple conversations with some of these athletes, and they said that they go to war too. And I said, okay, well, you get to go back to your $1 million homes and your $80,000 beds that you sleep in, but I understand, but you can't compare yourself to an actual combat veteran that has done war and knows what that experience is like, right? Because sometimes we don't come home. Even if we come home,
you're still over there.
We're still over there.
You're still over there.
And so by
they're entertainers.
Yeah, they're entertainers, and that's that's a whole different conversation.
Not to take away from the work they did.
Yes,
you look at their
hard
bodies.
work.
It takes work, right?
Hard work, and they put in the time. I get that, and they need to be rewarded, right? But those who actually go put their life on the line, we're not rewarded the same way. We we are. People say thank you for your service once a year. That's how they reward us, right? And then when I go and I'm actually brave enough to say, hey, do you offer a military discount? 10% usually just covers the taxes, and they say no. I will never shop at that place, and I'll leave. You don't offer it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time it's because it's the way they say it. And I'm not like, no, why would we do that? Like, why would you offer police a discount? They're the heroes too. First responders.
Rudy's, that barbecue place, they give discounts for first responders.
Nice.
But I learned they give the cops more than EMS.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So they give y'all 5% and
something
they give them 10%.
like that. Yeah. And I was like, for real? That's always been a discrepancy for me, and I guess a little bitterness because we're out there at the same dangers, dealing with the same people. I don't have a firearm. I don't have a bulletproof vest. My backup is my partner.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That
And yourself.
always bothered me. And then for what? For my first EMS job, guess how much I made an hour? $13 an hour.
Wow, bro. They pay people at Chick-fil-A in the drive-thru more than that.
Yeah. And so that's
wow.
I love those guys. Obviously, we need first responders, cosmetics, all those guys. But that is a tough life and a hard job.
You'll get to meet Arturo one time. He's a cop out here, and he was a Marine. So I can't say was, right? Once a Marine, always a Marine. He's a Marine, and he does that now. And I'm curious to conversate with him to see how that has boiled over from his service to see if he's getting worn out. Because weren't you worn out as a first responder? You were just done. How many years until you felt that?
10 or 12 between that.
Yeah.
Time. But that was my own fault because it was the job, but I was also so gung-ho. I wanted to see and do everything. So I was that guy living at the station. I'd work 80 hours a week on purpose. Like we never had that there was certain times that we needed you, someone called out, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I would always sign up for overtime.
Wow.
Always sign up. I wanted to see and do everything, and then the money wasn't bad, especially when you're getting overtime. And then for me, at that time, you'd accrue so much PTO that I would bust my butt, and then I'd go take a month off. I'd go see my cousin in Hawaii. I'd go to New York. I'd go to California. I'd party. That's it. I'd work to myself to the bone, and I'd go party.
And you play hard, right?
Yeah. No savings, nothing. Just party.
Life of a single man.
Yeah. Wasted.
No, it's never wasted, my man. They have... What is the life expectancy for a job in your field?
Oof. There is.
When I say life expectancy, I'm talking about from the time you get there and you get so washed out and brain, you're like, oh, I'm done.
I think everyone's different. Just like they say, you know, every man's cup is filled to a certain point. You know, some people can handle so much.
Yeah.
I remember we had this kid in medic school. When the culmination of medic school is you have to go 10 shifts with the fire department, and that's your internship. And ultimately, they're going to say if you make it or not. You can pass the final, you can do all this. If they don't think you're up to snuff, they're going to tell your instructors, right?
Yeah.
We were almost done, and this kid he disappeared. No one knows what, you know, I didn't know. Maybe someone did. But when you ask the guys on shift, they're like, just wasn't for him. So his cup got overfull, right?
Yeah.
Some people can do this as a career. Those firemen and those cops that have been doing it for 30 years, man, more power to them. You know, as long as they're mentally healthy and they can keep doing it, that's crazy. For me, I burnt myself out. I wasn't happy, and I think, sure, I can blame bad leadership, but I didn't lead myself either.
That's a hard thing to do, or no?
To lead myself?
To not blame yourself.
I struggle with that because a lot of it, I know there was other people that could have made life better or easier or whatever, but ultimately it's on me.
Yeah. It always is.
Yes, sir.
My man, we're going to get a workout in. I want to say I appreciate you coming to the show, man. I'm always going to remember this experience with you, and I hope to have you back on, man, and see how much further you've been down the road.
I appreciate you, man. I've got to watch your journey, and it is inspiring seeing you grow as a man, as a father.
Yeah.
And like I said before, when we were talking earlier, how you can tell a lot about a parent when you watch their child.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Your daughter is very special.
Yeah, she has her moments, man, and, you know, she learns it from somewhere. So she learned that from the 1.0 version of myself. And, you know, one thing I did want to ask you before we close out, I noticed you went by Aaron 3.0. What happened to the 2.0?
I like to think of the 1.0 was that young little kid who was always a kid. 2.0 was I became a medic and I thought I was somebody. And 3.0 was when I joined that men's group trying to be someone or to be better, right? But the whole time I was always me. It's just me.
And that's why you changed it to the
Aaron Guerrero.
My man.
So that's it. We can evolve and we want to evolve and we want to change, but it's always you. It's always you at the core. As long as you just shut up and listen to the Lord.
Yeah.
You know.
It is, and it's hard. It's really hard to listen to the Lord for some people because they're blocked out by all of those images, meaning sexual traumas, drinking, drugging, spouses, man or woman, it doesn't matter, relationships. What advice can you offer for the people in that situation to get out of?
That's tough, man, because something, like I said, no one hurt me. Yeah, I hurt me. You know, so I can sympathize because I feel bad that people were put through some things that were out of their control, especially as a youngster. That's crazy, right? So who am I to say, hey, you were abused? Well, get over it. That was 20 years ago. You know, who am I to say that, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of people, and I use my father as an example, almost 60 years out of the war, still feels it. He's still running through the jungle. So who am I to say, get over it? You know?
Yeah.
Every person has to come to that peace on their own. For me, it was real coming to the peace of, you need to forgive yourself. You hurt yourself. You're the one who screwed it all up. Now forgive yourself and move forward.
Yeah. And it is, for those of y'all listening, it is that simple. You have to be able to put your foot down and make a decision in your mind and say, I am not this person that I keep lying to myself and wearing this mask, making people believe what you want them to believe. Start believing in yourself. And I'll finish that, right? Make the step. In Exodus 14:14, it's my favorite Bible verse. It's stand still and the Lord will do your work. That's all you have to do is be still. And that was the hardest thing that I've ever had to go through and learn was to be still because I'm not the type of guy that can just sit down. So thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Again, throw the name out of your business.
Freedom Performance IV. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
And we'll be happy to come and serve you.
My man, absolutely. And I just want to close out here and say thank you. And I want to leave y'all with a message. It's very simple. You are who you choose to be. Stay weird. We'll see you next week. Thank you.